Hello and welcome back to another episode of Come Back Stronger, where we bring you stories of incredible people who have overcome significant adversity and gone on to help other people and come back stronger. I'm Dana Brooks of Fasig Brooks Law Offices, and I'm joined by my law partner, Jimmy Fasig. Jimmy, we have got a woman on today who every time you hear something about her story, you go, wow, that's a lot. And then there's something else. Okay, she's one of these, okay? Well, she's got a very interesting job. She is, I may mess this up, but she is a Christian-oriented, sort of religious-based therapist, a psychologist. And so she's got a testing background, she's got a clinical background, and that's what she practices, clinical psychology, but faith-based. And she'll talk about why that is so important given her journey. She was diagnosed, she was a competitive ballroom dancer, believe it or not. So what energy and poise and grace. But then she developed a brain tumor. Didn't see that coming. And then thought that was a big challenge. And then she was stuck with kind of a chronic illness that she's had to learn to modify her lifestyle to manage. So she has been through it.
She's been through it. She's come back stronger. And she's used the lessons that she's learned to help people in her clinical practice.
Yeah.
And this is something that we see a lot in our Come Back Stronger stories, is that people that are it doesn't matter what religion, but their faith a lot of times is their strength. And she is interesting because she uses a combination of faith-based clinical techniques and actually psychology, science-based clinical techniques.
Yeah, because it's so important, and you can't distinguish the two. You can't just, when you're talking about mental health, wellness, physical health, really, you can't distinguish the effects of the mind versus the effect of disease processes, body, that sort of thing. They're interrelated. But she's going to be on, and she's going to talk about her book, Supernatural Rescue from Broken to Beautiful, because she's got an interesting story. She's had a supernatural experience. So that's always interesting, and everybody's experience on that is unique, but she's got a lot to offer from a perspective I don't think we brought to people before. So I can't wait for you to come back after the break and hear from Linda Plunkett right after this.
So I think one of the important roles that a female lawyer has is understanding the family dynamic. The more you understand what people do for their families, the more money you can get people when they're injured and they can't service their families by everything that they're doing at home and at work. Right. And I don't want to say that men don't understand that family dynamic, but I do think that statistics show that women understand that family dynamic more and can empathize and sympathize with it because of our own roles in our own homes.
Right, and it helps offset some of these assumptions about women's claims, which is that they're inherently valued lower, it's easier to replace the things that they do, they're more menial, they're not higher earning career professionals. When you look at everything they do, and what the negligence of the wrongdoer has caused them and this whole entire family, that adds up pretty fast. And you've got to have somebody who is looking out for you and knows to go after every single thing you are owed. And we are back. We're going to present to you an interview with our producer, Greg Bird. He's talking to Linda Plunkett, and she is a Christian-based spiritual psychologist, clinical psychologist. She's written a book, Supernatural Rescue from Broken to Beautiful, and we're going to learn about her path and her journey.
Dr. Linda Plunkett, thank you so much for being a guest with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, you're a clinical biblical psychologist,
right?
Competitive ballroom dancer, an author, but also a brain surgery survivor.
That's very true.
Can you describe to us what a clinical biblical psychologist is?
Well, basically, when I went back to school to finish my master's and PhD, it was something that I not only wanted the clinical approach, which the clinical approach is, it's difficult for me to put it in like just a simple sentence, but added to the clinical, which my goal was to help people and to help people on a number of different levels. So I did a lot of writing, which is very typical of a master's degree, PhD. You have your 50-page thesis, your 100-page dissertation, and then all the writing and projects that you do in between. But the Christian part comes in that I wanted to help people in a spiritual way as well. What I noticed, many people, even when they had tools to help themselves, they were still at odds as far as their faith. They didn't know how to have a spiritual relationship, or some people even to have develop a spiritual side where they could utilize that to have a stronger life. Because, I mean, quite honestly, this was something I had a real dilemma with my spiritual life, and I explained that in my second book that's coming out this spring. It was difficult. It wasn't something I would ever go through as far as having difficulties. I had faith as a child growing up, but when you go through difficult times, you can feel at times that you're alone. You can feel that, there's questions. Where is God? Why hasn't he answered my prayer? And also, where is he? Does he still love me? Now, having said that, I will say that so much of my recovery personally came from knowing that I was not alone, and that there was a force, there was a being, there was a spiritual entity out there who was outside of myself that I could utilize, that I wasn't alone, even when I felt I was alone. But I wanted to be able to counsel people, not just with psychological principles, material from books. That's what we all use. We come up with some of our own material, but a lot of it's not unique. It's been used over and over. Many types of methods people use in counseling, but adding the spiritual part, it's a whole nother dimension that can give people hope when at times they feel there's no hope. They've tried everything. They don't know what to do. To know that there is a God out there that's much bigger than you, that yes, that miracles can happen. My life is evidence of that. People say, Linda, you're a walking miracle. And that's somebody who's kind of been through the good, the bad, and the ugly, even in the spiritual sense. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't be without my faith. And I'm not here to dictate people should have a particular faith, but I am here advising people, if you don't know God, if you haven't tried God, give him a try.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to come and be with you and to give you just an extra dimension, an extra tool in your toolbox, so to say, to know that you're not alone, no matter what you're going through.
So your career, your philosophy on life is you want to help people and you want to help people come back stronger. But you yourself had actually two major health scares that your training and your education and your faith helped you overcome that. So tell us a little bit about the tumor that you had discovered in 2012.
Well, it was very surreal because at the time I was 59 years old and honestly super healthy, no high blood pressure, no cholesterol, no prediabetes, no issues. I was dancing and competing as a dancer at that time as well. But I felt great. I did what I wanted to. I was enjoying life. So you can imagine how surreal it was to one day just get a phone call. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you have a brain tumor. I was just like I tell people, I wanted to be in denial, but being a psychologist, I couldn't be in denial.
Yeah.
I had to say, this is happening. And what am I going to do? How am I going to handle it? And then the other part of that was, even though the tumor was not cancerous, the fact that I was having, quote, what they called seizures, a seizure can kill you much quicker than even a cancerous tumor. So this is something I had to start interviewing brain doctors, and I had to do something about it immediately. There was no procrastination. There was no putting it off. I had to make a decision how I was going to deal with this right then and right there. And then I think you asked about the second time. The second time that I really was majorly caught off guard was, a couple different things happened in the first 8 months after the surgery. I was about 3 months into the recovery and still not doing well, having trouble walking, not having a lot of balance. My brain was really messed up. I had a lot of pain. I was grossly overweight from taking steroids. And so I went to a major medical institution. I said, what can you do to help me? They ran all kinds of tests and then came back with the great news that there's nothing we can do for you. And I thought, how can this be? They're one of the most noted medical associations in this part of the country. And so, I was really in total shock, but I just felt like there had to be ways. And that's when I really started doing more research on my own. How do I get well? What can I do to feel better? And then I would say it was after that, maybe 5 or 6 months. One day I wake up, I have pain all over my body. I can't sleep. and they diagnosed it as fibromyalgia, which there seems to be no agreement on what that term means in the medical field. When I first researched it for my book in 2016, there wasn't really not an agreement. And even this year, when I researched my second book, I have learned so much. And that's why I wrote the second book. I wanted people to know how to help themselves, because there's no agreement from many doctors, and many people are not getting help.
Yeah, and we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we want to talk about those experiences and helping people, because you were told there's nothing we can do to help you. So you took it upon yourself to help yourself, and that's what your whole philosophy going forward is. You're trying to encourage people to be their own advocate.
Exactly. And I realize not a lot of people feel that they can be, but in this second book, I really do give people a lot of tools, because I think it's so necessary. People say, Linda, what have you done that you're doing so much better? And I want people to know, because I want them to be well. I want them to improve. I want them to feel better. They say that fibromyalgia is not curable, but I will tell you, you can improve the way you feel.
And we'll talk more about that when we come back, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Wow, what a story. She's got so many challenges, the kind that would just make anybody want to throw their hands up and give up and take a victim stance. And she said, no, what if there's another way? What if I become the driver of this train, my own advocate?
100%. Of course, in our business, we see people that are injured all the time. And there are many different types of people, but some people take it as a wake-up call to say, I am going to fight for my health, and I'm going to be healthier than ever. I'm going to do the therapy. I'm going to go to the doctors. I'm going to do what the doctor says. I'm going to come out of this healthier than ever and come back stronger. And then you've got others that say, that just give up. And so, but it's the ones that come back stronger, the ones that go in with that mentality, that have the greatest chance of the best recovery. And you see this over and over and over. And what she has done, which is really cool, is that she has taken the challenges that she's overcome, and she's incorporated that into her clinical practice to help other people overcome their challenges. And that's what Coming Back Stronger is all about.
Yeah, because people, they just need to see that you walked their path, that you walk your talk. I mean, a lot of times they teach you when you're in clinical practice, or at least they did years ago, it's not about you. Don't ever share anything about yourself. But you have to do that for credibility, I think, or else people are just going to go, you don't know what I'm talking about. Your life's been too easy. You're not going to be able to say that to Linda. The brain tumor, the fibromyalgia, but the most frustrating thing, I bet you, if I had to ask her, was being told they don't have answers for you. Because when women hear that, and they give you a diagnosis like fibromyalgia, they're going, I don't really know what's wrong with you, but you need a diagnosis, so I'm going to label you with something, and good luck. Now you can chew that up and feel like you got a project now. And it can be a very paternalistic way of practicing medicine, so you got to get in front of functional medicine doctors, the right people. So we'll talk more about that when we come back after this break.
You know what I love about reading client reviews and getting the letters from our clients is I love to see that our clients know that we walk our talk. To me, that's incredibly important.
I got a review from one of my clients. She says, I'm not just mashing stars on my phone. This law firm deserves all 5 stars and more. She couldn't walk. She was on a scooty chair because she had a fractured ankle. She couldn't work. She's a single mom. And she said, Kimmy, I need help and I need it now. And her case was not a clear liability case. It was a tough case. And I said, all right, I'm gonna do everything I possibly can for you.
Let's do this.
And within 3 months, we got it settled. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. If I could be in a commercial to tell my story, I would.
Oh, here she is. She's in it now. And we are back with the second part of our interview with Linda Plunkett. She's the author of Supernatural Rescue: From Broken to Beautiful. Take a look.
Linda, when we last talked, you were talking about being your own advocate, and then you translating that into wanting to help other people be their own advocate, helping themselves. How did those experiences shape your direction going forward, and how do you use that to help other people?
Well, when I was initially told, Linda, there's nothing we can do for you, For me, it was the sense of, you've got to be kidding me. You're a major medical institution. I was counting on you. As a psychologist, I would do testing and I would help people based on the testing, help them to become better people, to understand themselves better. And, I just was kind of in shock. And, I think that's kind of where my faith kicked in. It's like, God, you wouldn't leave me like this. There's got to be a way. And that's when I started doing my own reading and my own research. Sometimes you can't believe what every doctor says. Now, when I don't mean that in any way to discredit any particular doctor, but doctors are educated in certain genres and they believe in doing certain things. And so, for example, they might not even think of wanting to refer you to alternative medicine, changing your diet, changing your exercise, changing your supplements, or doing anything other than what they might want to tell you. But, the truth is, you've got to understand your own body. You've got to understand what you're going through. And really, if you don't understand that, one of the best things to do is to go online and read. And I'm talking about not just one article, but multiple articles. And research is always being conducted. Studies are being, done. But there's a variety of different people with different opinions. And sometimes we just have to talk to people, and we have to be open-minded about exploring other options other than maybe the traditional medicine that people are most used to.
Yeah. And like you said, you're the best judge of what's good for your body. You know what you're feeling. You know how certain treatments, how you react to it. So that's a huge thing of taking charge of your own diagnoses or research is the big key on that. But, while you had the tumor in your frontal lobe, fibromyalgia, you're doing this recovery process, but you were a dancer, a ballroom dancer. And even after all this, you're back into being a competitive ballroom dancer. Tell us a little about that.
And you know what? I will tell people that's one of my therapies, and they don't understand that. But when you've had a brain surgery, your balance can be affected. My balance is still affected at times. My coordination is still affected at times. And the great news is, when I dance regularly, I can't explain exactly what it does to my brain, but I do have information in my new book about the value of ballroom dancing on your brain. But there's a positive correlation between dancing and improvement in the brain, which I think is fascinating. Other exercises as well, but in particular, ballroom dancing's been shown to really help people that may be having even early dementia, that's exciting news for a lot of people.
I imagine it's a combination of the stimulation of the physical activity, but also the mental activity, and the music's got to help a little bit with that too.
Well, and for a man, he has to learn to lead. For a woman, she has to learn to follow. And, you're always learning new steps. And, the main thing is with our brain, there's some truth to the old saying that says, if you don't use it, you lose it. But I think it's also true with your brain. And I think we have to become very complacent, especially after we have to be careful, because when people retire, they just want to put their feet up. I want to retire. I want to take a nap every afternoon. But honestly, it's new learning, and it's new engaging your body in new ways, which is very helpful to your brain and also your mental condition as you get older, more so than what I think people used to realize.
We got just about a minute or so left. Tell us a little bit about your first book and where people can find it, and also the new book that's coming out this spring.
The first book, which came out in 2016, it's basically a memoir of what happened to me, which there were things that happened during this time, I will say, that were very supernatural that I can't explain. All I can tell people it happened to me. The book was called Supernatural Rescue. And I went through a near-death experience where I felt my spirit was basically leaving and going out the front door, and that I believe what was the hand of God pulled me back into my body. There were other things that happened in that book regarding angels, regarding like a light coming through the ceiling. I realize not everybody believes in those things, but I talk to a lot of people who do. I'm not asking anybody to believe it, but it's the story of what happened to me, and how I had the early recovery from the brain surgery. What I realized was more devastating than the brain surgery, however, was the remnant which was left, which was the fibromyalgia that appeared 8 months later. Because when you have pain all over your body and you cannot sleep, it is devastating. It changes who you are. I really disliked myself, and I had no idea how to handle it. No one was really helping me. And again, this book is to really help all my friends that say, Linda, how are you doing as well as you are? How are you still dancing? How have you lost weight? How is it you're feeling healthy most of the time and that you're able to sleep? So this information, there's 3 sections in the new book. The title of the new book is Living a Positive Life in a Negative World, My Uphill Journey. And this is really tools for someone who might be going through pain, who might be going through a period in their life where they feel they're suffering. They don't know how to get around the pain. They don't know how to get around the sleep problems, and they want to improve their health. This second book, I'm hoping to be available in the next month to 2 months. I expect it to be available on Barnes & Noble as well as Amazon. The first book right now, unfortunately, is sold out, but I do have personal copies available. If people want one, they can contact me. Otherwise, it is downloadable on Amazon. But I am excited about what I've learned, and I'm excited what I have been through. It's not been fun, but the fact I can share with other people and help them, to me, that's become a bigger purpose in my life.
Yeah, and that's what the philosophy of Come Back Stronger is we want to show these experiences that you've had, that somebody else may be watching that's going through something similar. Now they get the knowledge that it is possible to come back stronger. So
it is possible, because we can't give up. We can't necessarily believe the bad news we get. Put your faith in a God who says he can do immeasurably more than what we think or imagine. And he's definitely done that in my life. So I do want to encourage people, no matter what you're going through, do not give up.
Well, that's a wonderful way to end it, Linda. I want to thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to seeing more of you in the future.
What an inspiration. Don't give up no matter what you're given with. Linda Plunkett.
Here's something I want to bring out, and that is, because I see a lot of times with our clients, is that they're hurt, and one of her messages is to be your own advocate, okay, to fight for your health. And so, and particularly our faith-based clients, the ones that are very religious, they believe in God, the ones that we have certain clients that will say, I'm just going to leave it in God's hands.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Right? I'm just going to leave it in God's hands.
Give it to God.
And then they don't actually do what they have to do to move forward.
That could be. I've seen that used as an excuse to not do hard work.
To do the work to get better. So but even though she's very faith-based, she also says you have to fight for yourself. You have to be your own advocate. It's one of those things that God helps those who help themselves. And that's what I've seen, is that the ones that are willing to do the work are the ones that are going to get the best results. So that's the kind of the combination that she's seen, a combination of faith, but also being willing to do what faith through works. That's right. That's exactly right.
And I tell people this when they say they're going to give it to God. I said, I think God's going to give it right back to you if he feels like you've already got everything you need to take care of it. You just don't want to do the work. You want to sub it out to him. I think he's going to give it right back to you. So look at what your resources are. And please understand, when we say be your own advocate, that sounds a lot easier said than done. Somebody like me, I can do that all day long. I was born to do that. A lot of people don't feel comfortable speaking to people with more authority, people with more education than they have in different areas who use words they don't understand. Get you somebody who does. I go to the doctor's appointments with our clients. If they want me to, I don't care. I can translate, I can do whatever. But there's somebody in your life, probably somebody in your church, that you can reach out to. Faith is a lot of things. It's a lot of times it's a network of association of people that God puts in your life who can help you. That's an angel. You just have to have your eyes and ears open. And this supernatural stuff, she's speaking my language. I'm 100% open to that. There are people in your life, you don't know why you cross paths with them. That could be divine. It could be the universe, whatever you want to label that. But if your eyes are open, you will see this. So we're going to go to a break, and we'll come back right after this, and we'll wrap it up.
This is about Carrie. It says, "There's not enough space, nor could I find enough words to articulate my experience with Fasig Brooks. Working closely with Carrie and Brittany has literally changed my life. Not only did they handle my case as if they were standing up for their own immediate family, we became like family. I've never felt alone in the process. I never felt like just another case, and the encouragement on the harder days would always lift me up. Absolutely everyone in the firm exudes a compassion for the cases they handle and a real passion to empower the lives of individuals and families far beyond a settlement. They are strong, resilient, will leave no rock unturned. I absolutely love Fasig Brooks.
I love that. I mean, I just have no words to explain how grateful I am that somebody feels like that about us.
And we are back finishing our two-part interview with Linda Plunkett. She's just such an amazing woman. You had a comment on the break you were talking about.
Well, basically, one of the big parts of Linda's story is that she went to the doctor because of her fibromyalgia, and she was told there was absolutely nothing that can be done for you. And so I want people to know that when an authority figure like a doctor says that there's nothing that can be done for you, ignore that 100%, because there are so many stories of people that have overcome situations where the doctor said they were 100%. Done. You have 6 months to live or a year to live.
Oh, please.
That doctor doesn't know, can't predict your future.
No.
If somebody says you've lost all hope, they're just
they're
wrong.
completely wrong because they're.
If you're
you gotta
still breathing,
why they say it.
if you're still breathing, there's still hope.
100%. And you know, you hear that because doctors are they're trying to be clinicians, they're trying to be scientists, they're trying to be unemotional and treat your disease process. They don't treat health, they treat a disease process. They're wildly ignorant on nutrition unless they've decided to get that knowledge on their own. And if you don't believe someone could change their genetic predispositions by diet, exercise, and changing their environmental factors, which you have complete control over a lot of the times, you're wrong. Don't listen to them. There's a whole new area of medicine, functional medicine. There's a lot of people are working with physician extenders as their quarterback of care. You've got so many options, but on something like fibromyalgia, that is overrepresented among women. So get on some support groups, find out from some other people who've gotten answers from their doctors. Don't take no for an answer. Thank you for watching another episode of Come Back Stronger, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.
Tony, Jimmy, and Kelly took what was a scary and horrible experience and turned it into a positive situation. Once these three jumped on our team, we were able to leave the legal part of the process to them and concentrate on our healing. You will always come back stronger with Fasig Brooks on your side. The insurance company made us go 1 month before trial until they finally paid the money they were supposed to a year earlier.
The reason why they paid the money is because they knew we were ready, willing, and able to go to trial. Insurance companies aren't paying out of the kindness of their hearts. Right. They're paying now because they think if they don't pay now, they may have to pay more later, right? And so we showed them that we had the evidence together, we had our witnesses set up, we had the doctors, their depositions were already scheduled, and they knew we were gonna go to trial, and that's when they finally became reasonable. That happens all the time.